All right, perfect. So we are going to get started with I'm just going to share my screen. Just give me 1 second. Where is it? Okay. So, let me know if you can see my screen now. Good,
Yes.
good. All right, perfect. So now we are getting started with week 3. And let me put this in. All right. So in this section, the first thing that we will go through is the HackerRank problem for Kangaroo. We will obviously discuss about the topics that we have covered in week 3. We will talk about the assignments for week 3, and then we'll list down the topics for week 4. That's the agenda for today, as you already know. So Kangaroo problem. Let's try and understand the Kangaroo problem first, and we will try to solve it. Okay. So what is Kangaroo problem? All right. So in HackerRank, we'll go to HackerRank, and what exactly they're trying to say is, in simple terms. Hi, Tom. Can you hear me, Tom? I think it's starting something. All right. Anyways, so the main. Hi, Tom. How are you?
Good yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Sorry, I got to later.
You're unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Anyways. Okay. Anyways. So in this particular Kangaroo problem, the main situation that we need to figure out is that if Kangaroo 1 and Kangaroo 2 will ever meet or not. The problem is that Kangaroo 1 starts from 0 and it jumps 3 times. So you can see Kangaroo 1 is jumping 3 times, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12. That's what it is jumping. Kangaroo 2 starts from 4. The situation is, the location is 4, but it is jumping once, and then just two steps, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12. So the situation that we have to figure out is that if ever Kangaroo 2 and Kangaroo 1 will ever meet into a common position. That is what we need to figure out of the problem. You can go through this particular problem statement to understand what's going on. Okay. So what I have tried to do is I have tried to put this through a particular, sorry. So I've tried to put this through a particular diagram in my paint. So where is my paint? Paint. Okay, perfect. All right. We will try to solve this problem with a simple mathematical solution or mathematical equation. Okay, we have to build the equation. So this is the same Kangaroo situation I told you. So we can consider that the Kangaroo 1 is starting the jump or starting its journey from x1, okay? And they are making a jump till 3, which is my v1. So we actually have to build a function, the function that we will be building. So if meets, for example, that's the solution, or the solution. That's the function that we have to write, right? So this function will basically have 4 indexes, 4 parameters. So say 1 or something like this, 0, and then comma 3, comma 4, comma 6. So this is basically a particular sequence of 4 integers. That is something that you will get in the solution, in the parameter. You basically have to say if they are meeting up in the same point. Perfect. So I can consider that the Kangaroo 1 is the starting position of Kangaroo 1 is x1, and it is going to the position V3, which is my V1. So I can say the Kangaroo 1 is jumping till V1 and Kangaroo 2 is jumping till V2. This is the basic understanding that we can understand from a mathematical situation of this sort, right? So we already know, we have you know, in our basic school maths, we already know that velocity is equals to distance by time. Velocity is equals to distance by time. So what exactly happens now is we don't have any time here. What we have is we have jumps. We have jumps here. So is it possible that we can simply write this in a different way? So we can say that x1, so we can say that x1, so I've already written that. So x1 is my, so if I just want to move it back, so I will say jump equals to, no, jump into velocity equals to distance. I can say that. I can certainly say that. Distance is equals to jump into velocity. And with that situation, I can write the equation saying, so x1 is my current position. I am jumping, which is my distance. X1 is my current position. And I'm jumping, or my distance that I'm covering is V1 into jump. So we are going to assume that any given point of time, these two Kangaroo will meet, right? So what I have done is I've just said that I am considering that they are meeting. I'm considering that they are meeting. I'm considering that they are meeting at the same point. So I'm saying x1, which is my starting point, plus v1 into jump equals to x2 plus v2 into jump. So x1 and x2 are going same distance is what I am assuming. So if I have this equation in place now, can I just try to quickly make this equation a proper equation? We have to find the jump, right? So I can simply say j equals to, what will I say? I will say j equals to, so I will just simply say x1 minus x2. I will take the x2 to the left hand side. So I will say x1 minus x2. And then what will I do? I will say divided by v2 minus v1. If you just deduce this properly, so you will say that x1 minus x2 by v2 minus v1. So v2, this equation over here is going to ideally give me a particular jump. Now the question is that this division that I'm going to make, this division is going to give me, can give me a fractional value. It can give me a fraction value, but for jump, a jump cannot be a fractional value. I cannot say that a jump equal to 1.5. A jump cannot be a fractional value. It has to be a particular whole number. It has to be a whole number. You can say it has jumped 3 times or 4 times or 5 times. You cannot say 1.5 times. So if I simply say that if this division is resulting to 0 remainder, if this division is resulting to zero remainder, which means how can I say that a number is a whole number? I can say that if the remainder of 2 division is basically 0, then I can say that the value that I'm getting is basically a whole number. So if I just simply do this, saying x1 minus x2 modulus, I'll put this in a modulus, and I will say v2 minus v1. If I say that, then I am going to get the result in terms of a whole number. If it is a whole number, that means if this modulus is equals to 0, if this modulus is equals to 0, then I can say that it is getting me a whole number. So which means if the equation that we have just formed with these 4 parameters, if the equation that we have formed with these 4 parameters is giving me 0, then I am sure that these 2 kangaroos will meet at the same point. Am I making sense with this structure? Hi, Hector.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Hi, Hector. Thanks for joining, man. Are you able to see us? Are you able to see my screen? Can you come to audio, please? Okay, let me unmute you. I'm not able to unmute you. Let me know if you can see my screen in the chat, please. So Hector, we are discussing a particular, so how do we do it? If you have seen my video already, so how do we do is we basically go through a HackerRank problem in the beginning of the class. It's a problem which will let you think about a particular solution. So we try to solve that problem first, and then we go through all the topics that we have already given to the students, and then we talk about the assignments for the previous week. So that's how we do the class, right? All right. So if you're able to see my screen and if you're able to hear me out, that's good. All right. Everybody got this solution. Daniel, what do you think?
Yep, very smart. Exactly.
You don't have to really go around the looping. You don't have to do anything of that. Yeah, it's just simple mathematical solution. Can give me the result. Perfect. So if I'm just going to run this, so I will go back to my HackerRank, and I'm going to run this. So you see, I did the exact same thing. It should be v1 minus v2, not v2 minus v1. But anyways, so x2 minus x1 modulus v1 minus v2. If the value that I'm getting over here is equals to 0, then I say that they are meeting at the same point. If not, they are not meeting ever. That's the simple solution. If I run this, it's running different test cases together. Okay, so we got all of them passed. So let's try to understand the test cases a little bit. Let's take up the test case number, this one. So you see, they have given this kind of numbers, a bigger number, to figure out if your solution worked or not. So this guy is going from this position to this position. Second guy is going from this position to this position, like it is jumping a shorter distance. So you want to see whether they are meeting or not, or something like this maybe, where, yeah, it is also yes. I'm just trying to see if it's a no somewhere. Unlock. Yeah, most of them are yes. Yeah, this is a no. So this will never meet. So perfect. So that's how you solve this problem. Okay, so we will discuss about in the next week. I'm going to talk about this problem, which is not this, but let me show you something. I will talk about apple and orange. Okay, apple and orange. It's a little complicated. Basically, what they're trying to say is that this is the position of your house. The red zone is the position of your house. So you have a left-hand side, you have an apple tree. Right-hand side, you have an orange tree. So when a particular fruit is dropping on the ground, it will basically give you some kind of equation that how many distance they are dropping. A minus distance will say that it is dropping on the left-hand side. A positive distance will say that it is dropping on the right-hand side. And similar goes for the oranges. So basically you have to say that how many apples and oranges are going to land in the red zone. That's the question. Okay, it's a little complicated, but I can show that to you. Okay, perfect. So this is what we have for HackerRank. All right. Now I will get back to the drive, and let me open up. Let me open up our PPTs for this month. So we have given you 8, 9, 10. All right, perfect. Okay. I will quickly run you through all of them so that we have a little bit more time towards assignments. We're talking about if-else and switch case. We're talking about access specifier. We're talking about understanding methods, Java methods, OOPS principle, inheritance. What are constructors, method overloading, polymorphism, method overriding, runtime polymorphism. That's what is there in the 8 class. Okay. If-else and nested if-else. It's a very simple thing. I have already explained this in the video, but quickly run through it. Basically, you have 3 different variables, 20, 25, 30. You have 3 different variables here. And you're just saying that if A is greater than B, then you are going inside this guy. If B is greater than C, you're going in this guy. So basically what you should be always keeping in mind that if any one of this condition satisfies, only that particular block will be displayed, or it will be taken care of, and other 2 blocks will be ignored. Whatever is, so if this statement, if A greater than B is true, then else part will never be executed. That's the main thing that you should be understanding. It should always execute only one single block in the if else, right? That's a nested if else. Switch case is a similar situation like if else, but then it has, I mean, with if else, what you can do is you can basically create some kind of you can add multiple conditions in the if else. You cannot have that in switch case. So for example, if I want to take you to the Eclipse, where's my Eclipse here? So this is my, I will quickly open up week 3 summary. So week 3 summary. I'm going to say new package, Java test. Right? And in here, I'll say new class. So if else test main method, finish. So the difference between if else and switch case is very simple. I have 3 numbers, int A equals 20, int B equals 30, int c equals 50. So basically I can, with the if else statement, I can have something like this in place where I can say if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, then let's do something. Then let's do something, right? Then we can do something about it, right? So you can have multiple conditions attached to it in the if else block, and you can do that. But in switch case, that is not the case. In switch case, you can basically say switch, and you can basically talk about a single case. So for example, C, you want to evaluate C, and then you can say that case if it is 20, then do something, and then at the end of the day you have to say sysout. So I'm just saying sysout, and wait a minute, sysout, and I will just say 20 here, and I will have to break. So basically what I'm trying to do is you're trying to evaluate one single entity in the switch case. You are trying to evaluate one single entity at a time in the switch case. You cannot really talk about multiple conditions. I mean, you can say something like this. You can say something like this, that if this condition over here equals true, so this whole block is a case, right? Can I say that like it? No, you cannot. Yeah, you cannot. You cannot do this here. No, it's just the one thing. You can evaluate only one single case. A Boolean situation will not be tackled by switch case. Yeah, that's a good thing to understand. So this is the difference between if else and a switch case. Let me try to make this a little bigger. Okay, perfect. I will go to the next one. A very, very important thing to understand. Access specifier, guys, is a very, very important thing to understand. Okay, so private, default, protected, public. These are 4 different type of access specifier that can be attached to a variable, a method. Okay, so what are these access specifier and how it works? So let me quickly run through it. I will simply go ahead and create a particular package. I'll create another package. I will say access. And in the Java test, I'm going to have a class called as test access. Okay. And one more class, say runner, something like that. Okay. So in the runner class, I'm just saying I have a variable which is private string running, and the value is run, right? And then I have another variable called public string distance, or int distance, and I will say 20. Well, the situation is that this runner class that I have created, I'm going to go to the test access class. Here, I'm going to put a main method. Okay, in the main method, what will I do? I will simply say, I'm looking for a runner. Run equals new runner. Once I have that in place, then I will say run dot. Okay, I have access to the distance. Obviously, I don't have access to the running variable because that's a private. If it's private, it will be only and only accessible to the members of that particular class, and nobody else can access it. Okay, public, you can see that I can easily go and I can say run.distance. I can update the value to 30, whatever, right? So I can do that. That's that. Now, I'm going to talk about one more variable, which is one more type of variable, which is, what happened with this? Nothing. Okay, so I will talk about another one, which is default. So when you don't specify any type of access specifier to a particular variable, then it is default. So I will just say, you know, run, say name. Okay, so I'll just say string name, the running, whoever is running his name. So I'll just say I'm running, right? That's the name, perfectly fine. It's default in place. I can go and I can certainly access this guy, run.name equals something else, so it's 2, right? I can absolutely do that. There is no problem in doing that. But the question is, this runner and test access, they are both in the same package. They are both in the same package. Now, if I simply move my runner to access package, I will immediately get a problem. You see, the public is not having any problem, but name is having a problem because it is of type default, and it says the name is not visible. It's because that default access specifier cannot be accessed outside of the package. This problem will be then solved by inheritance. If you are having another class, so for example, let me make this come back to the first package again. Okay, and then in here I will do one thing. I will simply say that in the runner, I'm going to have a guy called protected, and I will give, say, uniform, say string, uniform color. Okay, and that's black and red, black, red. Okay, that's the uniform of my running suit, whatever. So that's my uniform color, and it's in protected state. Now in this situation, if I say the test access is extends to what? To the runner class. If I say the test access is extending to runner class, and now I just go ahead and simply shift my runner to access, and then obviously it's a default will have a problem. There is no option with that. But if I say, if I just directly try to access my uniform class, uniform color, okay, it is static. No, I can just simply do it with run dot. Okay, it is actually I'm trying to access this from the main method, so that's the reason it's trying to say it is not accessible, because that element is inside runner and this is not a static. So I will do one thing. We'll just make this static for now. I will talk about static later on, but for now it is this. You can see uniform color is now easily accessible to me in the main class. Why? Because the runner, in the runner class, this element is protected. So even if it's protected, then it really doesn't matter whether they are staying in the same package or not. You will still be able to access them because you have a relationship already established between the class that is accessing it and the class where the variable is. So there is a parent-child relationship you have already created. That is why you have this in place. Plain and simple. Any doubts with that? Yes, no? All good?
All good.
Perfect. Okay, so then Java methods. Well, method, I have already spoken about it. Method is basically, you will use it to support do not repeat yourself situation, where you want to, when you understand that a particular statement or particular program that you're writing needs to be reused over and over again, that's where you will go ahead and you will use a particular, method, so that that method can be called a number of times to perform the same operation over and over again. So for example, here I have said add just two numbers. You have just method that is basically adding two numbers, but this method will always give you the result, which is 30, because num1 is 10, num2 is 20. Always this method will give you only one result, that is 30. No change in that. If you say I want to add numbers and I want to make those numbers dynamic, then I will pass it as an argument, and that's what I did here. I pass it as an argument, and I can easily get the sum out of it, and I can say sum of a plus b is a plus b, as I did here. So that's my add two numbers by arguments and return the sum of numbers. So this is another situation where I have spoken about var args. In the var args, I am passing on n number of numbers inside the argument with this particular single int dot 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 nums. That's basically a var args. In that var args, it is basically an array. I'm looping around the array and I am getting the result out of it. Okay, so this is basically your three different ways you can use a method. At the end of the day, you have to understand that method is nothing but a block that you know can be used over and over again. Okay, understanding inheritance, a very good concept to understand. Well, as I have shown you in the video, that you can extend a class in multiple different forms. So for example, you have class B and you have class A. So class B can extend to class A. In this situation, what will happen is all the methods and variables that are part of class A and which are not private can be accessed by class B. And the reason for that is you don't want to create, you want to basically leverage the methods that are already implemented with class A, and you want to use that in class B. You don't want to write those methods that are already written by class A. So you can simply inherit to class A and you can access all the methods out of it or the variables out of it. That's single inheritance. When I say multi-level inheritance, you can keep on stacking up these classes one after another. C can extend to B, B can extend to A, so on and so forth. You can keep on doing that. And then you have hierarchical inheritance, where you can see that class B and class C is extending to class A, which means if I have another class, like in here, say new class, and I can say runner2, okay? I will not be able to say that test access can extend to runner and runner2. I cannot say that. I will not be allowed to say that. I can extend to one class at a time. I cannot extend to multiple classes at a time. That is called as a multiple inheritance, and you will not be able to do it with extends. There's another way to do it. We will talk about that when I get into interface. But now you just need to know that with a single with a single class, you can just extend to one single class at a time, and that's it. Okay. So that's the diagram I have tried to show you here. I have already shown that multiple inheritance or hybrid inheritance is not possible with extends keyword that we have seen that we use for establishing inheritance. Okay, that's the concept that you have to understand. I've also given you this small little diagram here, or a code snippet here. So you have public class 2-dimensional shape, int length, int breadth, square extends 2-dimensional shape, and you can just have a method called set length, which is a part of square. Okay, and this length is basically coming from the length of the 2-dimensional shape. Calculate area, you can just say length into length is the square. It is, so I just don't even need the breadth here, because square will have all 4 sides same. Square will have all 4 sides same, so I don't need a breadth here. I just need a length, and the length is this, and I can simply say length into length. That's my square area, as simple as that. So that's how you're going to use your extends situation. Okay. Do you have any questions for me in this up till now? Yes, no?
Yes.
Tell me.
Sorry. Can you back up one slide in the inheritance? Yeah, here, the multi-level situation. I see, maybe can be a stupid question. Class C.
No, nothing is stupid. You can ask anything. You're learning for the first time. Go on.
Class C is extended to Class B, so Class C can use all the methods in Class B. But can Class C use even methods in Class A?
Yeah. It's a multi-level inheritance. So A's methods will be access to B's. B's methods will access to C, and A's method will also be access to C.
Oh, okay. So
all of them are in the same level now because they are all extending to each other. So the grandparents, the class A is my grandparent. Grandparents' information can be also accessed to the grandchild.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So that's with the first class video. I will quickly go back to my next class, class 9. In the class 9, we will talk about, we'll talk about constructors, overloading polymorphism, runtime polymorphism, and simple test framework. Okay. What is a constructor and why do I need that? You have already seen the videos. I want you guys to give me some understanding. What have you understood out of the video? Can you tell me in your own words, why do I need a constructor?
It gives like a starting, just a default value to the variable.
Okay.
So you're able to set, instead of just having it as a null, you can set something as a default, so that when you're setting up an instance of it, you can put in those particular. It will direct you to the type of variables that you need to have in the particular instance.
Okay. Everybody agrees to that? Tom, what do you think? Hector, what do you think?
Yeah, makes sense.
Hector, what do you think? I'm not able to hear you. I mean, your mic is okay, or I don't know. I'm not able to hear you, Hector. Gokul, what do you think? You have seen the videos?
Yeah,
Gokul? Yeah, tell me.
so I think construction is used to initialize value, but it
Well,
has any return type.
okay. So constructor is a very, very important topic for everybody in programming to understand. With constructor, what you are trying to do is you are trying to give a particular state, a default state, a particular state of your object. So by doing that, I have to actually go and put this inside here. What I will do is I will bring this runner back in here so that I don't have that error, or maybe not. I'll simply comment this out. All right, so what I will do is now I'll go and I'll simply create a class, and I'm saying a car class. This car class is having public. So understand that every class will have a constructor. Every class will have a constructor by default, which is hidden to all. So every class will have a constructor by default, which is hidden, which means public car. This is the constructor that is hidden inside your car class object. I mean, in the car class. What do I mean by that? It means that when you are actually hitting or creating an object, so test car, when you are creating an object of car, when you say car equals new car, when you say that, you see this bracket over here is empty, which means it is actually pointing to the default constructor over here, but there is nothing happening in the constructor, so you don't see it. It is by there in every class. You don't see that because it is hidden and there is no statements to be processed. So if I just say sysout, this is default. This is default constructor. Okay, if I say that, and if I just simply run this guy, then I get the value as this is a default constructor. This is exactly the same thing that you do when you are creating any object from the class, right? Now the situation is that a default constructor will never be able to, I mean, it can be able to, it can be created in such a way that it will help you to set up some initial value. So for example, I will try to say that private string name And I'll give the name as null right now. That means there is no information to this particular variable. I'll give another one saying brand, which is not there anymore, which is also null. That's fine. So now I can say that name equals no name, and brand equals no brand. So what am I doing by this? What am I doing by this is I am setting some initial value for these two variables, which are private variables. I'm setting some initial value for these two variables. Somebody is not in mute. Okay, Hector. Hector, I'm putting you in mute. So the situation is that name and brand, they are having some initial value in the default constructor. That's fine. Can I make it different? So if I need to actually set some information to these values, so I will do something. I will have a method called public void get name or print name or print info. This print info that I have will simply give me some values, right? So car, this is name, and brand, brand. Okay, that's it. Now in this situation, I have given some initial state to my car object. It's a default constructor, but still I have manipulated my default constructor in such a way that it will give an initial state to my car object. So which means if I simply go ahead and say car equals new car and just say car dot print info, in this situation where there is a default constructor in place, I know that if I run this, I will get the value as car no name, brand no brand, because I have given an initial state to my car object. Now I can go ahead and I can create n number of constructors as I wish in the car class, and that is something we will do now. So we'll say public. You have to understand that any constructor will never have a return type. So public car, and I can give, say, value as string name, string brand, br. I've given these two information. Okay. Now I will say name equals name and brand equals br. So now what did I do? I just created another constructor using which I have a provision to send some information inside the car class, and then I will be able to print the value out of it. So then I can go ahead here and I can say again car2 equals new car, and in this situation now I have the provision to add some additional information. So I'll say name is, I don't know, C class, and this is a Mercedes, right? And then I just say car2 dot print info. Perfect. And I go and run this, and I have the value as I needed. So basically, what does it mean? It means you can create a number of constructors in your class depending on what type of initial state you want to create for that object. Am I making sense with this? Yes, no?
Can I just ask one question, Sulik?
Sure, sure,
Can you
sure.
go to test car there?
Yeah.
Just where you were running the instances. Do you see for the first car on line 7?
Yeah.
So is that is in the first state of the constructor. So that's why there's no error showing. See, the other way you have given initial in line 11, you've given you've put within the brackets, you've put in what the string, the toString.
Yeah.
So are you able to run then that initial car on line 7 won't flag an error because within your car class you have put down 2 different types of
No,
constructors.
because as I told you earlier, if you remember, that when I'm creating a reference of a class that stays in a different memory location than this guy.
Oh, okay. So it's not overriding. One
No,
isn't
no, no,
overriding the other.
no,
Okay.
no, because they are. So right now, even after this, if I say car dot print info, I will still get the old guy value because you see, no brand, no name, because they are in 2 different space.
Yeah.
You have to understand. You have to always keep that in mind that every objects are in different location, so there's no overlapping.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. No problem. Everybody else got this solution, situation? Gokul, are you able to understand? Yes, no?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Perfect. Good. All right, Shobhan, you're good. Juan, you're good. All right. Okay. So what I will do now is I will quickly move to the next one. Method overloading. What is method overloading? Method overloading is a situation where you want to create the method with the same name, but they will have different type of parameters. Why do you want to do that? The reason for that is you just need to remember one single name of the method, and then you can pass different type of arguments, and the method will react differently for different type of arguments. So for example, I've given this example over here where I'm making a sum. In the sum, I have sum x, sum y. I am trying to get the return as x plus y. So this is going to take 2 integers. I'm going to, summarize those and get me the result back. That's the method number 1. Method number 2 is again named as sum, and I have 3 different parameters now. And I still get another value out of it. This guy is also a sum, but here instead of int, I am giving double, and I'm able to get the summation of 2 doubles, right? So 3 methods with the same name, I am able to perform different type of operation. That is basically a method overloading or polymorphism. Polymorphism means different shapes. So you have same name, but different arguments. The thing that you should remember is that, so for example, I have a method in car class. So say public void running, and I say int speed, int acceleration, int distance, or no, let's not make it as int distance. Let's make it as double distance. Okay. So look at the sequence. It is int, and double. Now I'll go ahead. I'll copy the same piece. As soon as I copy the same piece, it is throwing me an error saying what? Saying that they are duplicates. Duplicate method int double, right? Now what I will do is I will simply change the order. Do you understand what I'm trying to do? I just said that I am simply changing the order in which I am passing three different arguments into the method running, and it still accepts. Basically, the implementation will be probably same in both the methods. The implementation probably will be same because you are actually passing three different arguments. You have three different data, and you can probably process it in the same way in both of these two methods. They are overloaded. I mean, as per Java, they are overloaded, but the implementation can be same. It's kind of a little bit weird, but that's how it works. The sequence in which you are passing the information to the method will also determine if the method is overloaded or not. This is a valid overloading done. This is a valid overloading done. So you have to consider two things in case of overloading. One is argument type. Argument type, like whether it is int, boolean, string. Okay, if that is that, or and you have to take care of two things: argument type and order. Argument order. Okay, in which order you are passing the info, passing the parameter. Okay, parameters. That's overloading. Okay, any questions with this? A very important understanding, a very important concept to understand. You see that there are a lot of inbuilt methods over here. So for example, I'm just talking about string. I'm talking about two strings, right? String A equals A, B, C, D, E, and string B equals D, B, D, E, F, G, whatever, right? You can see that there are multiple different methods that can be of same type but looks different. So for example, okay, look at this guy. Content equals and content equals, these two guys. See that? Content equals and content equals, they are taking two different types of argument. One is character sequence, one is string buffer. What are these? We'll talk about that later on maybe. But they are overloaded because they have different types of arguments. So they are overloaded methods. So you just need to remember one single method name, and then you can choose the right argument type, and you are done with it. Again, equals, not equals, sorry. Get bytes. Get bytes. One has no argument. Another one is having character set. Another one is having string character set name. So these three are overloaded methods, right? So that's how it is. So index off. You see that? Index off. There's so many, 4 or 5. 4 of them are overloaded methods. So you can just think about them once, and then you can use it depending on what type you want to use. So that's how it is. Anyway, so I hope everybody got the overloading concept. Yes, no? Give me a shout, please.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Perfect. Now we will talk about overriding. Overriding is something that you need to understand because you will have a situation where you would like to override some of the implementation that is done by your parent. Overloading means you're just simply creating different methods with the same name but different arguments. That's overloading. Overriding, on the other hand, is creating a different implementation of a method that is there with my parent. So for example, if I just go ahead and I just simply say that I have a class car and I am creating another method, another class called Mercedes, and this Merc is extends car, right? I can do that, no problem in doing that. And what I will do is I will say that this print info that I have, I'm not happy with the print info method, which is there as a part of my parents class. So Mercedes is not happy with the method which is there as a part of car class. So I can just have the option to print info. I can have the option to go ahead and say, I am planning to override it. Public void print info. However, you have to always keep in mind, note, if you really want to have to, if you're really planning to override a particular method, the arguments, return types, argument order, they all should be same. They all should be same as there in car class. If there is no argument in car class and you're just trying to create or override that particular method, then what you have to do is you just have to simply create the same method in your subclass. And as soon as you do that, you see a triangle over here which says overrides java test.car.printinfo. If you hover on top of that, it says java test.car.printinfo. It is overriding it because it's there in my parent class. But you have to always remember that you need to keep it exactly same. So for example, I can have a method now called printinfo with string name. You see that? It's allowed. So this guy is my local method. This guy is my local method, and this guy is my overridden method, right? This is my overridden method, this is my local method. It is allowed because printinfo is a part of Mercedes and it is having a argument. So this argument is now differentiating between this one and this one. So printinfo is a method which is getting overridden by the previous, which is coming from the parent class. And then I have another printinfo method which is having a different argument and it is allowed. Is that clear to everybody? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Perfect. Let's move on then. Runtime polymorphism. Okay. Runtime polymorphism is a situation where did I discuss about runtime polymorphism in the last class? I think I did, right?
Yes, with me. You were explaining me one of my doubts.
Okay, exactly. So everybody is clear with that, or do you want me to go into it?
Oh, you can go quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So basically, runtime polymorphism is a simple situation where up till now we have seen that you're creating an object of A equals new A. That's what we did, and we say object.m1, and this is which is a part of the A class. That's fine. However, you can also have a situation where you can say object object B equal A, object B equals new B. So this is going to be possible. This situation is going to be possible if B is extending to A. So now in this situation, Mercedes is of type car because Mercedes is extending to car, which means car is my parent and Mercedes is my child. As simple as that. So I have a relationship between car and Mercedes. So I can say that Mercedes is of type car. Mercedes is of type car. I can say that. So now then if I just go in here and if I say that car equals new Mercedes, then it is absolutely valid because, okay, car 3 equals new Mercedes, then it is absolutely valid because the car 3 object is now pointing to the Mercedes instance. You're creating an instance of car which is referencing to Mercedes. So
Just
the
ask-
right, go on, sorry.
Sorry, can I just ask, why would you do that rather than just creating an object of Merc?
Perfect. So it's because that you have, it says this concept is called as runtime polymorphism. Okay. This is done because you want to create the object depending on a user input. So I will say this is my card 3. I'm saying string car name equals Mercedes. Okay. Car name equals Mercedes. Or let's do it better. Let's do it better. We'll say string array cars. In this, I will pass on Mercedes. I will pass on Audi. I will pass on I'll pass on Mazda. I will pass on Porsche. Right? Now what do? I have classes. I have Mercedes class. I will create some classes. Class Audi extends car. New class. I will say Mazda extends car because they are all belonging to car family. Extends car. I will say new class. I will say this is Porsche. Extending to car. Extends car. Perfect. I have all in place. Now I just go back to my 1 minute. Okay. So I will actually. Okay. So now what will I do is I'll go back to my test car, and then I am planning to have something in place now. What is that? I will write a loop for string car, comma cars. Okay. So C cars, and then I will say switch C, and I will say case C dot to lowercase. I'll make it to lowercase, and I will say if case is Merc then I'll do something. Then I want to do something. Similarly, I'll put it for all others. Audi, AUDI, MAZDA, BORCHE. Okay. Now, what do I want to do here? What do I want to do here is that I want to simply create a class called car3 equals null. I'm setting this value to null first. And then, depending on what exactly the value is coming, I'll say car3 equals new Merc. And similarly, I'll do it for all others. This is Audi. This is Mazda. This is Porsche. Okay. By the way, in my car class, I have this constructor to give the values, right? So yes, I will actually give these two values so that we have the information, the right information here. Why I have a problem? Okay, I didn't set the constructor of the Mercedes. That's why. 1 minute. Let me put the Mercedes constructor. Actually, everybody should have a constructor now because I'm extending to car. So I will just simply say public Mercedes. And in here, you know what? Let's not put it like that, but I will just say super. And in here, I will say this. Yeah, that makes sense. Because using super keyword, I'm able to pass on these values directly to the car class constructor. In the car class constructor, I want to set these two values. So I am directly passing the value from Mercedes using this option, super of this. Instead of passing it in this argument, which can be done, but let's not do it. Right now, I just want to simply go ahead and let me remove this guy. Okay. And the same thing will be done for others. Audi will be also having a same constructor like Mercedes. Okay. This is Audi. And this is Audi A3, I think. And then Mazda. So what I'm trying to do is, depending on what car I choose, I want to create the object.
Yeah.
So Mazda, I don't know what model is that. Whatever, Hornets. And then another one is this guy, Porsche. And this is ABCD, whatever. Or Porsche, let me put it Porsche. That's fine. Okay. So what did I do now is I created a for loop. Depending on what the value it comes, it will create different types of car object. And at the end of the switch case, all I have to do is, in the switch case, you probably have already seen that you need to give a break statement, break, because you want to handle one single case at a time. So break, right? And then what do? I simply just go ahead and say car3 dot print info. So depending on what type of car I'm trying to work with, a respective object will be created at runtime. That is why it depends on the user input. This is my user input. Whatever the user input is, that particular object will be created and you will have the value up there. So I just go ahead and say test car and then just run as Java application. And you will see that all of them came up here, right? Depending on whatever the value was at.
Yeah.
Right? But just a minute, is it printing right?
I think there's an extra or in string cars in Porsche. I don't know if that's affecting it, but
Let me just run.
Yeah.
Let me run it. Okay, you have got. No, my question is
In the
Mercedes
string.
with string.
The Porsche in the string up, yeah, string cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Audi, Mazda, yeah. Okay. Brand Porsche. I think all of them got printed. Why not Mercedes? Why Mercedes didn't get printed? Ah, exactly. Okay, very good question. Can you tell me why Mercedes is not getting printed, guys? It's an interesting one. Why
Can you go
Mercedes?
in the Mercedes class?
Perfect. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, print info.
Is it using the local method of Mercedes as opposed to the?
No, a local method will need a parameter, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
but this guy is overridden, but I have not done anything over here. It's a blank guy, right?
There's no print.
No print.
Well,
So
why?
that's the reason.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it is having a problem. So I just take this out. I'm not overriding it anymore. I run this one more time and we have Mercedes here. Perfect, right? So that's what runtime polymorphism is all about. Perfect. I think that's it. Create a simple test framework. I think we have done this later on. Let me go back again to the next one is class 10. In class 10, what do I have? Okay. We are talking about XPATHs. Okay, so there are different kind of located strategies we have to understand to work with test automation. So what am I doing here is that I'm trying to show you different type of located strategies that Selenium WebDriver is offering us. The first one is by class name, by ID, by link text, partial link text, by name, by tag name, CSS selector, and XPath. These are different locator strategies for WebDriver. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is if I'm going to amazon.co.uk or any website for that matter, and I just go and say inspect the element, I'm here. In this portion, this is the input box which I'm trying to inspect. This guy is having few attributes. The input is my tag name, and these are my attributes. So type text, ID is this, name is this, so on and so forth. But the point for you to understand that whatever locator strategy you use, that is not a problem. The problem is you always have to understand one thing, that is every time you try to find an element, you need to make sure that element that you're trying to find out is unique in the page. It has to be unique in that particular page. If it is unique in that page, only then you are going to be interacting with the right element, otherwise not. So think about a situation. So for example, I'm trying to work out with, for example, I've explained this very well in the video, but for example, this is a drop down. this drop down, this is my drop down. This drop down is having, okay, so for example, this is the guy. This is a select guy that is actually holding all the options. You can see Alexa skills, devices, blah, blah, blah. Everything is there as a part of this particular select options. Now, the select tag is having something called as class nav search drop down search select. This is one class. Okay. Now you have to understand, you have to check and figure out that if this class is unique in this whole page or not. So for example, if I say, I just copied that, and yes, it is unique. It is unique. But many at times, you will find that the class that you are trying to use is not going to be unique, because class is exactly like the class that we are seeing in Java. A class can be used by many different attributes or different tags. Okay, the class is an attribute that can be used by many different tags. So which means that you are never sure whether the class is going to be unique or not. Right at this moment it is, but there can be another element in the page later on added by the developer, which is also going to have the same class, and in that case you will have the result as two over here, one of two, and which is not something that we want. We want to have one of one. We want to have one of one always. That is our challenge to figure out. Okay, so why am I saying this? I'm saying this because in our here I have spoken about different types of locators, whether it is a class name, whether it is an ID. ID is good. If you have an element that is having an ID, that is most likely that no other element in the page will have the same ID. So you can directly find an element by the ID. That's fine. But if it is a class name are not appropriate, because multiple elements in the page can have the class name, same class name, right? So ID is good. Then driver.find element by link text. Okay, link text is also not good, because sell on Amazon, this particular link text can be visible by many, can be there for many links in the page. So for example, if I just try to find out sell on Amazon, you see I have three guys Amazon. I have three guys over here, 1, 2, and 3. I have three guys over here, which is having the text as sell on Amazon. Do you want to use them? No, right? Because you need to find one single element that you can work out with. So the bottom line that I have tried to explain you there in that particular video is, you need to figure out an option to use, which is going to result you back with one single element at a time. So XPATH, CSS selector, or ID is your best bet. I want to know, you guys have watched the video, I'm expecting. I want to know if you have any questions on that, because I have explained that section very well. And I want to know if you have understood that why did I chose XPATH over any other locator strategy. Even for ID, I don't use find element by ID method. I don't use that. I directly say find element by XPATH, something like this. I say, so for example, this guy is having an ID. So this guy is having an ID, right? It's having an ID. So I don't say that find element, diver.find element by ID. I say something like this. I say dot double slash, this is of type input, and it is having an ID at ID equals this guy. Okay. And that's how I got to know that this is one single element in the page. So input is a tab or the tag, and the attribute is the ID, and the value is to tab search text box. That is my ID, and I am able to find the element uniquely in the page. So the point is that I believe from my experience that XPATH is the one, if you learn it properly, is the one that can help you to solve any locator related problem whatsoever. However, whatever I just said will make sense to you if everybody has gone through the video. I want to know if you have any questions, yes or no.
Can I ask Suvik, why is it better to use XPATH and then the ID rather than just finding the element by ID?
Because a very simple thing is that every element in the page will never have an ID. There are only few elements in the page that you can find that it will have an ID. So
okay.
it's good that you can keep a common strategy towards finding elements in the page, because obviously with ID you cannot find all the elements in the page. So for example, if I take you to this guy, so for example, this guy over here, I don't know if it is having an ID, but we'll see. So you see this select guy is a very important, yeah, it is having an ID. Search drop down, very, very fine. This search box or this guy is not having an ID. This guy is not having any ID, right? How do I find this guy then? I have to rely on XPATH. So XPATH is the one that is going to help you out to find an element in the page always. In the XPATH itself, you can write it in such a way that you can include the ID instead of going for that method called driver.findElement by ID. I mean, that's my way of seeing things, because you just want to use one single method to find the element always in your project. That's my way of understanding things. Make sense?
Yeah, okay, so I guess it's because XPATH, you can buy more things. You're not limited to just finding by ID.
Yeah, exactly. That is also one more reason. Yeah, absolutely. Because with XPATH, you can have different type of combinations and permutations, which I will discuss later on. You can add multiple different attributes to it and so on and so forth. That's fine. You can do a lot of things with XPATH. XPATH is much more, robust and much more, it has much more flexibility than any other element, locator strategies. So what is XPATH? XPATH is basically a simple mechanism using which you can target any element in the page. Okay, that's what XPATH is. So XPATH is basically following a particular structure using which you can get down to the right element. So for example, you start your searching from HTML root, and then you go to the head. You don't really go to the head actually to find. You can do it. So for example, if I want to find the title of this guy, this particular page, I can go down to head, and I can go down to the value title. So let me see, where is my title, script, title, right? So you can basically say something like this, that you're looking for a title tag. So you can say, I'm looking for, just say title, and you have one of 7 there. There are multiple different titles being used in the page, looks like. Yeah, they're just title stuff. All right, 1 minute. So the one that we are concerned with is just the first one, the one which is this guy, right? So you can say that this title is under the head. So you can say head/title. So you have one of 4 now. And how can you make it? So you see, earlier it was showing 7 one of 7, because it was trying to find the title tag in the whole page, and there are multiple different titles. Now I said that I want to find it against head. So I said HEAD head/title. So it's saying 1 of 4 now, which is also not good enough. I want to find the first element. So I will do a very simple thing. I will wrap up the whole thing inside a bracket. And then I will say 1. Oops, sorry, come on. Yeah, I just head. All right, so I'm gonna say this in here and here, and then I will say I'm looking for the first guy, and that should be it. Okay, in the first guy, no, what's happening with that? I am in the head tag. In the head tag, it's saying 1 of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the first one. Okay, that's the first one. That's inside head. Let me try to wrap this and say 1. Yep. No. Okay, let me try one more thing. If that doesn't work. This is not the way how to find the title though. To find the title, you should do driver.getTitle. But let me try. No, it is not helping. It is not helping with that. What's weird? It is weird. No, this is not working. Actually, title is something that we should not find it through XPATH ideally. We should find the title from the method which seleniumwebdriver gives us, driver.getTitle, something like that. So which will give us the title, but this should work ideally. I'm able to find this element, but I'm not able to find it uniquely. It's weird. 1 of 4. I'm under the head. I am under the head. And then there's a script. Let's see, RIPT script.
Sorry.
Yeah, tell me.
What we are all seeing is it's combination of HTML, CSS, and JS, right? Everything, right?
Yeah, but
we are interacting with only HTML.
But you don't have to really bother about that, right? Because all I am trying to do is I'm trying to find an HTML component in the page. There are CSS and JS files, but we are not trying to understand them. We're trying to only interact with the HTML part of it. Our website is built on all 3 things, that's right, but we are trying to only work with HTML. Anyways, this title is not somehow working. Forget about it. There's no point in wasting time on this. All right, so anyway, so that's the HTML structure or XPATH structure. You basically you never try to really deal with the header part of it. You always try to deal with the body, because in the body you have the components that you try to interact with. In header, in the head, there is nothing that you can interact with. So you have body, you have div, you have script, and you have all these different elements inside the div that you want to interact with. So there are 2 different types of XPATH. One is absolute XPATH and relative XPATH. I've already explained the difference between absolute XPATH and relative XPATH. In absolute XPATH, you are going one step at a time. So for example, you are trying to find this span over here. And if you want to really go through the absolute XPATH, you're going one single section one by one till the end. That's how you're doing it, okay? Which is a very, very risky way of doing it. Why? Because tomorrow you have no control. I mean, as a tester of the application, you have no control over what's happening inside the application. You have no control over it. So the point is that div 1, if it is changing to div 2 or div 3 by the developer, your XPath that you have written with the absolute XPath, it will fail. It will fail because now it is trying to find out the same span under a different section altogether. So divs are nothing but different structures. So in a page, when we talk about a page, HTML page. So for example, this is my HTML page. How the developers develops it? They try to create different divs like this. You can say containers. You can say containers. These containers are not visible to you and me, but they are being created and you have no control over it. So the point is that, so for example, if you are trying to, so this is my div over here. The div can have multiple divs inside it, like this. It can have multiple different divs inside it. So for example, you are seeing some kind of a span tag in the third div. You have to understand the situation very well, because otherwise it's going to be tough for me to understand. So in the bottommost div, there is a span tag, which is something that you're trying to interact with. If I go ahead and write my XPath in this particular format, saying dot div slash div slash div slash span. If I say that, because there are three divs, div 1, div 2, div 3, inside that I have span. If this is how I am doing it, then it's risky. Why? Because you have no control over it, which means tomorrow the developer comes and adds another div like this, then this XPath will not be valid anymore. Why? Because obviously you are then in the fourth position. The span is there in the fourth position. It's a different position now. So it is not going to be valid anymore. So you have no control towards any kind of changes are happening in the website. So in order to avoid the situation, I will go ahead and I will write a relative XPath. I will say something like this. I will say dot double slash. Dot means I'm starting my search from the root element, that is from the HTML element, and from the HTML root. And then I'm going, so double slash means you're trying to search all through below. Single slash means you're going one step at a time. This is one step at a time. And this is global search. Search in the whole page. In the whole page. There's a difference. Now the question is that in this particular div, in this particular situation, I will say dot double slash, and then what do? I simply go ahead and say that I am looking for a span, and there I will use the attributes of the span that it is having. The attributes could be an ID, if it's there. If not, I can use some name, if possible, if it's there, or whatever it is. But I will try to use something that is unique or that is attached to that span. I will use an attribute that is attached to the span. I will say name, say text. Maybe that's the text. That's the name of the ID. Perfectly fine. So span at name text, and that's it. Right? So that's how I will be avoiding this complicated situation, and I will directly search for a span with my attribute, which is going to be a global search. It will give me the whole information, then it will give me the right element, then, and whatever changes happens in the parent level will never affect my XPath. Am I making sense with the absolute XPath and relative XPath? I've explained it with more examples there, but
sorry, Suvik.
Go on.
So the format to write the XPath is what you wrote in the paint. So dot double slash, and then the tag, and then the brackets, and then the
So I think I have already explained.
Attribute.
Yeah, I have already explained that in the video. But the idea is simple. You say dot double slash. You say the tag name. So you can say input tag, and then you say at attribute at name equals the value, say name
And that's unique.
text. This is going to make it unique in the page. So what I'm saying is dot double slash means starting from root, dot double slash means starting from root, starting search from root. Input is obviously next is the tag. Input is a tag that I'm trying, this one target tag. And then the next one is basically my span, I mean attribute. Attribute is a name. So at name is the attribute. Name is the attribute. The way I say it is at name, attribute. And the last one that I have is at value, sorry, the value. Value is something that you pass it on inside the brackets, right? Value. You understand that, right? So this is how you are going to 4 components of to it, and that's how you're going to build XPATH, which will work out. Make sense? Perfect. So that's basically your absolute XPATH and relative XPATH. Please go through the video multiple times if you're not understanding. Ping me in Slack, because this is a very, very important thing to learn in our world. All right. So finding an element by XPATH, I have explained that as well. The same thing as I just said. Dot double slash input at name field keywords, and that will do the job. And that's it with the video. About the topics that we want to learn in week number 4. In week number 4, which is going to be our last week towards free session, students who wants to continue with us, I'm going to drop a mail to everybody who were part of the free session, and you guys can probably let me know whether you are happy to extend to learn this whole 4 months course. And once the registration is done, after week 4, that means in the week 5, we will again have a class. We'll again have next week summary class, like the way we do it every week. And then the next week, that is week 5, before week 5, you guys have to basically plan out for the registration. So I will probably start dropping the mails this week itself, so that you have ample amount of time to understand and think about it. And then before week 5 starts, probably you have to do the registration. So in here, we are going to learn about XPATH find elements, XPATH access, following ancestor preceding, so on and so forth, a lot of stuff here. In video 13, we will talk about creating a manual test case to an automation test case. We will convert a manual test case to an automation test case, and that's what we are covering in the next week. So XPATH, mostly XPATH. Video 11 and video 12 is mostly XPATH. Video 3 is basically to cover up whatever we have learned in so far with Java and Selenium and XPATH. Whatever we have learned, that is something that we are covering in video number 13 by writing a manual test case to a automation test case. So that will be the whole free session that we are able to provide. So that's that. Now I will quickly talk about the assignments that are provided to you guys in the last week, and the assignments are here. So let me close all. Perfect. And in this one, I am going to get started with video 8, assignment 1. Okay. Well, it's a very simple assignment. It says, write a Java program that accepts 3 numbers and print any of these categories, all same number, all different number, neither same or different. So just a simple if-else statement. It's an if-else statement with multiple different conditions to be checked. That's all it is. You have, actually we can put this in a bracket so that it is understandable and readable. One is an AND condition, one is an OR condition, another one is where nothing's satisfied. I mean, when I have all different numbers. That's that. In video number 8, second assignment that we have given, write a Java program that accepts 3 numbers and prints any of these categories, increasing or decreasing order. So again, the same thing. You just have to check whether they are in increasing order or a decreasing order, neither increasing, neither or decreasing, whatever it is. That's the second assignment. Third assignment is in an IT company, the bonus was announced. So it's basically a switch case statement. Depending on what kind of grade you have got, that's the bonus has been announced for that particular person. It's a switch case statement. I've already gone through it, so it's quite simple. In video number 9, assignment 1, what do we have? We have a particular, so you have to see here. You have probably not seen this earlier. So I have 3 things, 3 classes in the same class, video 9 assignments. You see that? I've created a class X. These are called local classes. Okay, this is my public class, and these are my local classes. Okay, I can keep that in the same file. All right. So you see, I say class X, class Y, and I am trying to extend to X and Y, which is not possible by following the rule of inheritance. So I can only extend to class X, and that's the situation which we try to showcase here. John has written the below code, but it's showing a compilation error, obviously, because we were saying that X and Y, and it is obviously going to show a compilation error because it is not possible for us to inherit multiple different classes. So that's the answer to the question. Perfect, fine. Then we have assignment 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is here. So these are simple questions and answer that we have given. So what is a subclass? Subclass is something that we already know. If it's a child class, then we call it as a subclass. Can a class extend itself? Let's try to do that and see if that is possible. So we will go ahead and say, this is my class here. Can I try to go ahead and say extends this guy? It will not be possible because I will get an exception, runtime exception right there saying cycle detected. It has detected a cycle. You're trying to you're trying to create a circular reference. A circular reference cannot be ever possible. Okay, you're trying to assign it to itself or extend to itself, so it's not possible at all. So that answers your question. Then what we have is another question. Private member of a class are inherited to subclass. Is it true or false, guys? Is it true or false?
False.
False. Yeah.
It needs to be protected.
Perfect. Yes, it is. It's false. If a class B is subclassed from class A, which is the correct syntax? So obviously we know that we have to just simply give an extends. And multiple inheritance means we want to extend to multiple different classes together from the subclass, which is not possible using extends keyword. And I have already shown that to you. So video 9, assignment 7. We have to refer to this particular guy, which is this over here. So what do we have? We have basically a class called cube. We have a class called rectangle. We have a class called shape. So shape is the class, cube and rectangle is extending to the shape. So cube is having a volume and rectangle is having area, and shape is having another method called display, right? And we have a tester class, and then you can say that I am able to simply, what is the output of the following program? Obviously, it is going to simply go ahead and perform a display, area, a volume. Well, cube.area. Oh yeah, because cube is extending to rectangle, is it? Yeah, exactly. Cube is extending to rectangle, and rectangle is extending to shape. So obviously, when I'm creating an object of cube, then I can have access to display, I can have access to area, I can have access to volume. Obviously, area is coming from the shape. This is coming from rectangle, and this is coming from cube. So obviously, we can access all those three without a hassle, and that's what I'm trying to show you here. Perfect. And then we have assignment number 8. Let's go to this guy here. So this is another thing, again, kind of similar. So you have an animal class, you have a dog class, which is extending to animal, and you are simply just saying that I can call bark and eat both. It's exactly the same thing. Let's not talk about that. Then we have, what else? We have assignment number 8. Then we have assignment number 10. Okay, and assignment number 10, we have a particular, okay. So what I'm trying to show you here is a overloading situation. I'm trying to show you here is that if you're having two different methods with the same argument, you will get a duplicate error because it is not following the overloading situation there, right? So then it is having a duplicate error. But if you are trying to give different arguments, then you can perform the overloading properly, right? So that's what I'm trying to show you here in this particular snippet. And what else we have? We have assignment number 11 then. Okay, let's go to the 11 guy. Okay, let's ignore this because that's the same like 8. So let's ignore this. Assignment number 12. In 12, what we have? In 12, we have a rectangle and we have a square. So square is extending to rectangle, and then I am calling the rectangle class constructor with the super keyword. In the super keyword, I am passing the brackets, and what I'm trying to do is I am saying that I am instantiating the rectangle class constructor by using the super keyword, and I'm passing the value inside the rectangle class like this. Okay, and that's where I can then go ahead and create the object of square, and I can simply say that set breadth, and that will basically give me the area of it, right? If I just run this now, run as Java application, if I just run this now, I get the value as this, calculate area, and when I say the value is 10, then this is the value. Okay, so that's with that. By the way, why this value is coming wrong? You have just said object.setBreadth. What is setBreadth? Okay, this is bread, right? And calculate length. Okay. You actually have to, when you are setting breadth, you're trying to use the old value of length and breadth. Sorry, my bad. This is a little bit wrong, because I'm trying to calculate the area for a square, right? So I cannot have two different values. So yeah, that is wrong. So we have to make that right. I'll fix it and upload it there. That's fine. So it is class 12. What we have in class 12, and then we will go to class number video 10. Okay, driver factory. In Driver Factory, what I'm trying to show you here is that I am creating a simple class called as Driver Factory. In the Driver Factory, I'm creating a private object of WebDriver driver, and I'm having a public method called getDriver. The whole situation is that I'm trying to get the browser name, which is Chrome or Firefox, whatever it is. I'm setting the location where I am planning to keep my Chrome driver. I'm giving the property as WebDriver Chrome driver, and then this will instantiate the Chrome driver object to me. Okay. And once that is done, this driver will be returned back from this method. Okay. And then I have another method called quit driver. Okay. So this is basically my Driver Factory class, which I have created. And how do we test that? So you see, I have created another class called test driver. In the test driver class, I have created two different scenarios. These two scenarios are going to go to two different sites and simply verify the page title and quit the driver. Okay. So let's look at the first scenario called HSE test. Inside this, you see what am I doing? I am simply creating. So this HSE test is extending to Driver Factory class. Let me remove this. Okay, it should import it. Oh, okay, right. And I will also do the same thing for yoke test. I will import it. So what am I doing? I have two different classes called HSE test and yoke test. I have two different classes here. HSE test is having a constructor. The constructor is simply accepting the browser name. The browser name is whatever name you give, Firefox or Chrome, whatever you give. Okay. And then you say driver.getDriver browser name. And then this will basically return back the browser type to you. And then what do? You say you are maximizing the window, and you're saying driver.get. This is your method which will open up the location or the application for you, and then you're giving some sleep or a pause time. You're then calling the method called verify page title. In the verify page title, what you're doing, you're just simply getting the page title by using the method called driver.getTitle, which will give you the page title. And then you just basically say that if it is expecting the actual title or not. That's the method. The same situation is done for yoke test as well. And all am I doing here is I'm trying to call the method. So this instance will open up the Chrome driver or Chrome, and it will run this, and yoke test will do the same thing. So let's try to run this, but let me try and do something before that. Because I'm working from a Mac, in Mac, this is not the way you set up the Chrome driver. Okay, so I will simply comment this out and we'll see if this works properly. So I'll say run as Java application. So yeah, Chrome driver opens, and in that I am having a failure. What is that? Session not created. Session not created. This version only supports Chrome driver.
Maybe Selenium jar, Savik.
Selenium jar is one thing, but Selenium jar, I have to add it here. It's already added, I believe, no? Okay, let me add it.
Be your browser version.
Yeah, just 1 minute. Selenium jar is already added, one. Selenium jar is added. That's not the point. The point is the browser version is the question. So the browser version that I have and the Chrome driver that I have installed in my system in Mac is different, which is why I'm getting this option or the error called session not created, but that is not the problem. You will definitely be able to run this program as it is, because you have to basically download the Chrome driver separately and just see which version of Chrome you are using, and accordingly download the Chrome driver, and that's where you can do it. So I believe everybody is able to create the Chrome driver or set up the Chrome driver in their system. It is very simple. Just go to selenium.dev. In selenium.dev, you go and you just say, you go to downloads. In downloads, you go down. This is your Selenium jar file. We know that already. But for the browser driver, you have to go down. You have to see browsers. In the browsers, you say Chrome. You go to Chrome documentation. Inside this, you will see downloads. And this is the version that is there right now, 81 point something. I think I have an older version of Chrome driver, which is why it's not working. We will fix that later on. But I want to know if everybody is happy with, everybody is able to configure the Chrome driver and Selenium jar in their system. Yes or no, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
And you're able to run the code with it?
Yes.
Have you tried to? Okay, perfect. All right. So then that should be, I believe, is our end of class for today. Thank you, guys. And let me. All right. Okay, guys. So how you guys are feeling so far? Are you feeling confident with whatever you have learned so far? How are things?
Yeah, I think this week was quite good. The ratio of the videos to the assignments I found good this week. Felt like I was able to complete them within the week, which was good.
So are you saying that we are probably giving more assignments, or we are giving less assignments, or the ratio?
I don't know.
is
I
fine?
think just this week, I don't know. It just seemed like the assignments kind of I was able to fit them in well with the videos. I don't know if anyone else found that.
Okay. What about others, guys?
Yeah, that was actually fitting in a minute.
Okay. Just a minute. All right, that's perfect then. All right, guys. So that should be it. I will probably try to give similar type of assignments. We'll try to give similar level of assignments and a little bit harder. We'll keep on advancing it so that you can understand the teaching structure that I'm trying to show you here. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. Just give me 1 second. Why I'm not able to see you guys? I know you guys have switched on your camera, but for some reason, I don't see any of you. Okay. Right. Okay. So I can see you guys now. The Zoom sometimes. Perfect, guys. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So thank you, Dan. Everybody. See you next week, same time. And yeah. All right.
Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye bye. Have a great week, guys. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye.